Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Roundup. I'm your host, Spencer the Guru Urquhart. Right there next to me is Gabe Henderson, and this is a jam-packed episode, y'all. Trying to get y'all right for draft day. I know a lot of y'all have y'all's drafts coming up, so we're going to get straight to the point and talk league winners, y'all, because we've spent this whole all season going position by position, ranking, stock up, stock down. So I feel like most of y'all know the drill with that. So now the next move is to hone in on the players that we need to draft in order to win these leagues. So you ready to get this going, Gabe?
Absolutely. Can't wait.
For sure, man. Yeah, before we get too deep into it, just wanted to shout out our sponsor, Caesar Sportsbook. Make sure to head on over to Caesars. We got a new offer from them, actually, so go check that out if you haven't already. I think it's a little spicier than the previous offer. You know, football's starting up to get people ready to go for football season. I know that's my favorite time to bet. This is my favorite time of the year. Now, college football started and NFL starting very soon, less than 2 weeks. So, yeah, I'll make sure to check that out, y'all, at Caesars. So, and I know you just joined it, Gabe, our listener league. How excited are you for that? I don't know. That's going to be a good time. We've got some spots filled up and still got some more to fill up. So anyone listening, go grab a spot. We have our league here, 12-team PPR league with myself and Gabe. Highest finishing listener receives 2 free tickets to the Saints-Falcons Week 18 finale at the Caesar Superdome, thanks to our partners at Caesar Sportsbook. A whole lot of Caesars. So if you want to join, send an email, surquhart@theadvocate.com. Please send me your full name and email address to your ESPN account so we can get you invited into the league. And I don't know about you, Gabe, but I just want to say that, like, if y'all can beat us, we might have to throw in a little additional prize. You know, our Caesars prize, you know, that's if you're the highest finishing listener, you're guaranteed to win that. But might have to, for those that want in, we might have a little more on the line if you can beat myself and Gabe. You go with that?
I mean, what more can you want other than bragging rights over us?
I mean, maybe a bet or something. Like if like we got to do something goofy on air, maybe I don't know. We'll figure it out later. But let's get to our headlines. And once again, we'll pull this up for those just tuning into the Fantasy Roundup. For anyone that wants to get in that listener league with us, make sure to do so before it is too late. Headlines here: Saints trade Will Lutz to the Broncos, keep Blake Groupie as the kicker. Me and Jim talked about that yesterday on Bayou Bets. Not too surprised that that's what went down because Blake Groupie looked really good in the preseason. So kind of makes sense that he stayed on. And, of course, Will Lutz going to the Broncos, Sean Payton's the one that discovered Will Lutz. So I feel like this makes sense for both sides. Broncos needed a kicker. Saints had a surplus, win-win situation. Jonathan Taylor, the elephant in the room. As far as will he get traded? Well, he was not traded. Instead, the Colts placed him on the physically unable to perform list, more commonly known as the PUP list. So tough break for Jonathan Taylor. Managers, for someone like me, I drafted JT last night, got him super late 4th round, but going to be without him now the first 4 weeks. Going to have to check on my running back depth in that league, make sure I'm good to go because, yeah, JT will be out the first 4 weeks placed on the PUP. JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba had the wrist injury in the preseason, but he is expected to be on the Seahawks active roster. Not sure about his week 1 status. Same thing goes for Jerry Jeudy. Didn't get to include him, but I just got an update right after I made the slide there that Jerry Jeudy's in the same boat. Should be on the active roster. His week 1 status, though, very much in question. And had a couple of quarterback moves. Cowboys acquired Trey Lance. Trey Lance finally went in a new home. It wasn't working out for him in San Francisco, but he's now a Cowboy, going to back up Dak Prescott. And then the Cardinals released Colt McCoy, plays Kyler Murray on the PUP, and acquired Josh Dobbs from the Browns. So it looks like he's going to be their starting quarterback unless the rookie Clayton Tune ends up the guy over there. Hadn't been officially decided yet, but looking more like Dobbs. Cardinals QB on what's a very much a rebuilding year over there. So any of those headlines stick out to you, Gabe? I know it's kind of just a calm before the storm, but a lot of those are pretty interesting, I feel like.
Yeah, well, the one that was interesting to me was the last one there about the quarterbacks, and I'll throw a little wrinkle into this as well because I know we do these headlines before the show, so this news broke actually before the show, right before the Patriots now just have one quarterback on roster, and that's Mac Jones. Bailey Zappi and Malik Cunningham were both released.
Whoa,
Yeah,
they
so,
released Zappy?
yep.
Damn, I thought that was Belichick's boy.
So that's both of them gone. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with both of them, what happens in New England in general. And as far as Arizona goes, Spencer, I don't know what you think, but it's kind of smells and seems like they're cooking up a tank for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, it definitely seems a little fishy there. They just don't really seem to be putting forth the effort that most teams are to try to win in 2023. But whenever you know you're going to be without your franchise QB, it's kind of tough to compete. And hello to my dad and all the other listeners out there. Really appreciate y'all for tuning in. You're watching the Fantasy Roundup here on the Bayou Bets YouTube channel, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're watching. Thank you. And
And
leave
Spencer,
comments.
let me say one more thing on the Cowboys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Obviously, we spoke about Trey Lance, mentioned that in the headlines, which I think it could be a good deal for them. And now they've got the three quarterbacks there. I will say, a lot of people hate on the Dallas Cowboys, myself included, being from Houston. But what they did in their last preseason game was insanely classy. They let Will Grier play the entire game after letting him know that he would be cut so that other teams could see him and potentially pick him up. So I think that was really classy. And, keep an eye on maybe New England or even Arizona for him. I could see those as potential landing spots after the impressive performance he had in the third preseason game.
For sure. I mean, hell, Cooper Rush might be on the trade block since they decided to acquire Trey Lance. I mean, some teams probably going to keep three quarterbacks now with the new rule, but it's like some might not. So someone might come knocking to acquire Cooper Rush, who's pretty solid backup, filled in pretty good while Dak was out last year. So let's move on to our league winners. We're going to start with the running back position, and I'll start this one off, y'all. Najee Harris is getting so slept on. I don't understand why, because he's a guy that's a true workhorse on an offense that's going to run the football, and just they're always committed to one back there in Pittsburgh. So to me, the Steelers are a perfect offense for a running back, and they improved their offensive line. Kenny Pickett should be a little better in year 2, but it's not like they added a bunch of new receivers over there. So I feel like Najee in position for a third-year breakout. He took a little bit of a step back from his rookie year last year, but this year I think he's going to get back to putting up elite numbers and is going pretty late in drafts. I mean, like third round a lot of times. So I'm willing to take the chance. I think he's going to bounce back big. And I see you got Saquon as your early round target, Gabe. I can understand why. I mean, Saquon Barkley, he's a stud. You know what you're going to get there. But first round, maybe a little risky, but sometimes he'll slip to the second. But I'm guessing you're willing to take him at his ceiling.
Yeah, any longtime listener of this show knows how I feel about the Giants going in. And I think Saquon Barkley is going to be a huge part of that. There were a lot of questions in the offseason. They got those hashed out relatively early. He seems ready to go, ready for his second year under Brian Daboll. And I think we're going to see Saquon Barkley at his best this season.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think he's going to do well. And Najee, what are your thoughts on that, man? Do you think Najee's going to produce like I'm thinking, or are you concerned about the only concern to me is the lack of efficiency on the ground? But to me, the new offensive line is going to help him. They acquired the new left guard and then the rookie left tackle. Both should be upgrades over what they have last year. To me, with the better O-line, Najee's efficiency should improve. So to me, I don't really see many red flags there, but is there anything that I'm not seeing?
No, and you mentioned him potentially this year even being better than last year. The efficiency was really down in the early part of the year, and I think he had a screw still in his foot from a surgery.
Right, right.
As soon as he got that taken out, I mean, we saw a completely different Najee. You know, there were questions about Warren potentially taking over. He was averaging more yards per carry, and then Najee Harris said, "You know what? No, like I'm all good after this surgery. Everything is behind me now," and he really stepped up toward the end of the season. So, I believe, much like you do, that he's going to really produce this year.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then I got David Montgomery as one of my targets. He's going so late right now, y'all. His ADP on Fantasy Pros is he's freaking buried on the list, like way down in the 30s, next to guys like freaking Khalil Herbert and AJ Dillon, DeAndre Swift. Come on, y'all. David Montgomery is still going to get a lot of work, even though Jahmyr Gibbs is there, the rookie in Detroit. Montgomery is someone that's getting highly slept on. And I feel like it's going to be a league winner because you're going to be able to get him as your third running back in most cases. And I feel like he'll put up numbers close to a lot of the guys' second running backs. You'll be able to flex him most weeks, and he'll be the goal line guy in an ascending offense. So to me, Monty, for where he's going, it's just too good to pass up on.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've been a big David Montgomery fan, and I think he wasn't utilized to his full potential in the Bears backfield, and I'm glad he got out of there. And you know what, Spencer, I'm still not touching the Bears backfield. So, but David Montgomery is definitely someone I like, especially given the guys around him, as you mentioned.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, got a good supporting cast around him. And I see your guy gave us Isaiah Pacheco. He's got a good supporting cast, but I mean, it's the Chiefs though. Patrick Mahomes, we know he's going to get his through the air. And I think my dad has a Chiefs question. We'll get to that after the Pacheco stuff. But I'm a little skeptical about Pacheco though. He's coming off injury, and it's just the way the offense is. It's a very pass-heavy offense, but I see you like him, Gabe. What makes you feel like he's a league winner this year?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a constant evolution of the Chiefs' offense. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid together figured out how to make everything work. And, I think Isaiah Pacheco really is everything that they wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be. I've mentioned it before and we've talked about it. Andy Reid really doesn't like to involve rookies, but Isaiah Pacheco had, I think, damn near, if not surpassed 1,000 yards last season. So, I mean, especially in the playoffs, this guy had a huge role. I know there are the injury concerns, which I think that's reflected in his ADP. So, I mean, especially in these drafts this year more than others, it's really thin at elite wide receiver. So, if you're gonna wait on a running back, I think I bet Isaiah Pacheco could be someone who turns out to be really useful for you in that RB2 spot, or maybe even a flex.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, he's definitely better than CEH, so he's got that going for him that he'll see the majority of the work. And do y'all think any Chiefs receivers are worth drafting? Yeah, I think so. Sky Moore, not as high as I was in the draft with my dad last night. I'm just gonna say it reached on Sky Moore. It took him in the 6th round, but I feel like at ADP, Sky Moore is worth drafting because I think he's gonna play that Juju role. I think his upside's a little limited though, being that Kelsey's the main target over there, and also Rashee Rice, the rookie. I think Rashee Rice is gonna be a field stretcher and get some stuff. I mean, get some yards and catches. Even MVS, he's not really a fantasy option, but in real life, he's gonna be on the field a lot and running a lot of vertical routes and stuff. So to me, Sky Moore is the only one I'm targeting, but late Rashee Rice, the rookie, comes to mind because there's Kadarius Toney is there too still. And when he's on the field, he's explosive, but I feel like he's just not available enough to be worth drafting.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then, if you're looking at dynasty leagues, obviously Rashee Rice, and then how someone we didn't even mention in that whole spiel right there, Justin Ross. He's looked really good in camp apparently, and apparently Patrick Mahomes really likes him. So I don't know how much playing time he'll get, but to answer the question is in terms of dynasty leagues, he's a guy that might still be on your waiver wires, or if you're drafting this year, doing a complete redraft, you can get him in the late rounds.
100%. So speaking of receivers, let's move on to our wide receiver. Oh, sorry about that. All right, wide receiver league winners. We've got. I'll let you start off, Gabe. You took two of the early round options there, Amon-Ra and Chris Olave. I went a little later there to Ridley and Mike Williams, but I know Amon-Ra. I mean, he's someone I really like. I wrote an article on him last week about him being potentially someone that could top Justin Jefferson as the number one overall receiver in 2023. So I'm guessing you feel similar.
Yeah, Spencer, as I touched on a little bit ago, when it comes to wide receivers in this year's draft, there's not a ton of elite options. So my strategy this year has been go wide receiver early and often. And if you can get one of these two guys, Amon-Ra, and we'll touch on Olave in a little bit, if you can get them early on, these guys are going to be huge additions to your team, especially in PPR leagues. They are the undisputed number one targets. They have quarterbacks who are only going to improve as the year goes on. And I just think their ability to do so many different things, their route running ability, just their hands. Amon-Ra specifically hardly ever drops catches. So, he's like DeAndre Hopkins in that sense that he's the dude. He always gets open. He's a great route runner, number one option, undisputed, especially with Jameson Williams out for an extended period of time. So yeah, Amon-Ra is someone I definitely love, and based on your article last week, so do you.
Hell yeah. Yeah, he's definitely someone that I feel like is going to do really good in that volume role, and the expanded route tree should help him see more vertical targets and such. He'll still get his stuff out of the slot, the shorter routes and such, and that's where Justin Jefferson's so good, is that he can do it all, run a complete route tree, and is super explosive. And I feel like Amon-Ra could end up putting up similar production. And yeah, Olave, with you on Olave as well, I feel like Olave is just someone that's just scratching the surface of what he can do, and number one target, undisputed on the Saints. Because look, y'all, Michael Thomas, and I know if we have some Michael Thomas defenders in here, don't get butthurt, because I feel like this is just the reality. Michael Thomas is nowhere near the receiver he was when he broke the receptions record in 2019. I know it was less than 5 years ago, but a lot can change in 4 years, and a lot has changed in that his body, more specifically his ankle, has broken down, and where he's just not what he used to be physically. So he'll still play a role even at less than 100% of what he used to be. He's still a quality number 2 or 3 receiver in the league, but he's more injury prone, and Olave's just at this point got a lot better skill set. So for fantasy, we want Olave and maybe Rashid Shaheed late.
Yeah, and you know what? I will say, just to add on top of that, I'm not avoiding Michael Thomas. I'm not expecting him to be what he was, but given where he's being drafted, I think he's worth a flyer in some of your leagues potentially.
Yeah, he goes so late now, like 10th, 11th round. Yeah, if he's sitting there, he's not someone I'm targeting per se, but if he's sitting there, I might take a chance, because it's just a flyer at that point. And so, yeah, speaking of more mid-round guys, like Calvin Ridley, he's creeping up to being more of an early round guy, but I'm okay with it because I feel like he's going to put up elite numbers this year in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, another young player, the quarterback, just scratching the surface of what he can do. So I feel like Calvin Ridley is going to be the beneficiary as being the number one target. Christian Kirk still there, but Calvin Ridley is someone that I feel like is the superior talent and should be able to rack up yards, catches, touchdowns, a fairly big target. So, I feel like he's well on his way to being a top 12 receiver. It's just, can he stay healthy, being that he's had such a long layoff from NFL, just the grind of the NFL. But I think he'll be okay, at least for this season. So I'm all about Calvin Ridley and redraft, even though his ADP's skyrocketing. And then Mike Williams, I feel good about, because in that new look Chargers offense, I feel like Justin Herbert's going to take a step forward. Kellen Moore they're going to throw more over there. And Mike Williams is someone that is going to be heavily involved, with the rookie Quentin Johnson moving along a little slower than we expected.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on both of them. As we'll see in a little bit, Justin Herbert's a guy that I really like. I think this receiving core of his is now the deepest it's ever been, and I think Kellen Moore will certainly help. So yeah, I think Mike Williams it now has a little bit of pressure off him, and he can really focus on balling out. And then Calvin Ridley, yeah, I mean we've talked about him at length here. We both really like him. We like the strides that Trevor Lawrence is making. And I think he's a certified number one there in Jacksonville.
For sure. So let's turn the page to quarterbacks and tight ends. I've got Trevor Lawrence as my quarterback to target. Just mentioned I like Calvin Ridley, so it makes sense that I'm on board with Trevor Lawrence. He goes pretty late compared to a lot of these trending up quarterbacks like Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson. I know Lawrence doesn't run like they do, but he's got a huge cannon arm. He's got plenty of weapons. He can run a little bit too. And in that offense, it's like I think he takes another step forward statistically, being that he's an elite talent and they've got a good play calling over there. So I'm all about Trevor Lawrence where he's going. He's getting kind of slept on, in my opinion. And then I've got Mark Andrews, tight end. No, he goes early, a little earlier than some of y'all are comfortable with, but reports are that Lamar Jackson is that's still his number one target. Mark Andrews is still the go-to guy in Baltimore. And it makes sense because Odell Beckham's probably lost a few steps. Zay Flowers is only a rookie. Rashad Bateman still coming off injury. So with all those receivers kind of uncertain, I feel like grouped together, they'll be a solid group. But as far as any individual going off, I feel like Andrews is still the individual receiver in that offense that's going to get the job done. And being that he's a tight end, he offers a significant positional advantage, not as much as Kelsey, obviously, but enough of one to where I'd feel comfortable taking him in the third round.
Yeah, I agree, especially with the changes to the offensive coaching staff now. They've got a guy in Monken who really focuses on the tight end position, and he loves to utilize those talented tight ends. And if Mark Andrews can stay on the field, which he kind of struggled with last year, but I mean, we've seen he's an all-pro. I mean, he's a guy who can put up elite numbers from the tight end spot. And I think we're going to see a bounce back year from just about everyone in the Ravens offense. There's other than maybe Odell Beckham. I mean, I like Lamar. I like J.K. Dobbins. I like Mark Andrews. I like Zay Flowers. So I'm really high on everything in Baltimore. So Mark Andrews is definitely a good pick. And then Trevor Lawrence, yeah, he's got a stronger receiving core this year. He kind of the development setbacks that he suffered under Urban Meyer are now in the past, and we're really going to see him blossom now, I believe.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson's calling the shots now, and he helped quarterbacks in Philly like Carson Wentz and Nick Foles, and look at they're doing now. They're terrible. Carson, they're both out of the league. So I think it goes to show Doug Peterson's a quarterback whisperer, and so now that he's getting to work with a generational talent like Trevor Lawrence, T-Law might throw for 5,000 this year. You heard it here. I'm going to say first, but you heard it here. Because I know a lot of people are high on him, but there are some that are hating. I feel like T-Law gets some haters because of the way he's a humble dude. He doesn't really talk a lot, but he's someone that he gets results. I mean, he got results all his years at Clemson. The only year he didn't get results was his rookie year because of stupid Urban Meyer. But now that he's got an actual offensive coordinator and head coach that know what they're doing, he's a freaking stud. And I see your guy Gabe, Justin Herbert, another one that I feel like is in a better situation this year. Kellen Moore calling the plays over there. Got to be an upgrade over Lombardi, who is just short pass after short pass after short pass. Like, bro, you've got Justin freaking Herbert. He's a generational young QB, cannon arm, like just someone that he put up arguably the greatest rookie season ever for a quarterback, and you're babying him. It helped Austin Eckler, but other than that, it hurt all the receivers over there, which is why I like Mike Williams this year. I think the new system is going to really help everyone out there overall. And for the Chargers, and then you got a TJ Hawkinson too. Well, I guess we'll start with Herbert before we get to Hawkinson. Do you feel like the Kellen Moore things, is that the main reason why you have him, or is it something else?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's the main reason I have. Maybe it's the co-main reason to kind of swerve around your question a little bit. Because, I mean, we saw the one thing about Dak Prescott under Kellen Moore and his system in Dallas, he threw for a lot of yards. And, I like Dak Prescott, good guy, great talent. Justin Herbert is twice the quarterback he'll ever be. He's got a bigger arm, and he's now got deep threats. Quentin Johnston, he is a rookie, but that's a dude at TCU, big body, great hands. He can go up and bring down some catches. And he was explosive at TCU. And I think, them, according to experts, they might have reached on him a little bit, but I think them, quote unquote, reaching on him shows their faith in him. And I really think he's going to be a welcomed addition to that offense. And, for Justin Herbert, he's got a healthy receiving core for the first time in what seems like forever. So I really like everything that's happening out in LA, at least on the Chargers side, as far as Herbert goes and his potential.
100%. Before we get to Hawkinson, Savage Chris has a question for us. Who is winning this trade? Gibbs for McLaurin, Sanders, and Akers. Man, that's depends on the league size. That's a spicy trade. If that's a shallower league, like a 10-team league or less, I'd say the Gibbs side, because in those shallower leagues, it's like you don't have to worry about depth as much. In a 12-team league, though, or higher, 14, 16, where depth stretched thin, I think I'd side with the McLaurin, Sanders, and Akers side, because those are all startable pieces in deep leagues, and all you're getting would be Gibbs, who's really good. He's by far the best player in the deal, but it's just like he's a rookie, and David Montgomery's there, like we mentioned earlier. So I mean, it depends on the league size, but I'd probably tend to lean with the 3, because at least if you get 3 for 1. Those 3 are all quality pieces.
Yeah, the way I look at it, you're getting a wide receiver who, if Sam Howell is as good as Ron Rivera is advertising and as good as we saw against the Cowboys, McLaurin could be in line for a big year. And then you've got Sanders and Akers, who are both going to get a lot of workload in pretty bad offenses. So I tend to agree with you, Spencer. I like the 3 here.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So there you go, Chris. Go with the 3. Go with the 3. So TJ Hawkinson, though, you got him on there. He's going a little high, sometimes even higher than Mark Andrews. I'm personally preferring Andrews, because I feel like with Hawkinson, it's Justin Jefferson's offense. He's going to get majority of the targets. Vikings do throw a lot, though. Have the rookie Jordan Addison now. He's going to get his. But Hawkinson was getting his last year when he got traded over there. So I'm guessing you see that trend continuing.
Yeah, I think you saw some familiar faces depart in Minnesota this offseason, obviously, with Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen. So they added Jordan Addison, but I don't know how long it's going to take him to acclimate to the league. And I think TJ Hawkinson has now had an offseason after getting traded there. I think he could really be a safety blanket in addition to Justin Jefferson. I think those two are going to absolutely run the show in Minnesota. I tend to agree with you in the sense that I wouldn't take Hawkinson over a guy like Mark Andrews, but I think Hawkinson's the 3rd best tight end on the board easily.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, yeah, Hawkinson, yeah, because it's like his upside is a little bit capped, but if he goes in like the 4th or 5th round, which a lot of times where he does go, I'm comfortable there. 3rd is too high for me, but 4th, 5th, if you can get him at the right price, then yeah, he's definitely the 3rd best tight end, because Kittle with his injury history isn't there, and then Pitts is just Pitts. I don't know, go get me started on that. And then Waller's another one that gets banged up easily. So yeah, considering Hawkinson's been durable throughout his career, I'd be comfortable taking him around that 4 or 5 turn.
Yeah, I completely agree with you in that sense.
Cool. So you ready to rant, Gabe? You want to kick us off? We got our rant segment here before we close it out.
Yeah, Spencer, I got a text right before we went on the air. One of my league mates saw the Jonathan Taylor news, and I had this rant set up to go last week, but we obviously had to cut it. And it's an evergreen rant. I can do it at any point. And today the text that I got before we went on air just reaffirmed this rant. I cannot stand as a commissioner of a league when people complain every year about when we draft. Oh, we draft too early. Injuries. My guy got injured. I have Jerry Jeudy. You know what, Spencer? I didn't complain once about it. It happens. Injuries are a thing. Trades are a thing. Roster moves of other kinds are a thing. People get waived, people get benched. I mean, it is so unpredictable to try and guess what's going to happen in the NFL. So it doesn't matter when you draft. Injuries and moves that are going to affect your team in a negative way are a thing at all points in the season. So I'm so tired of people complaining. And you know what? Here's the thing is these people never ask to move the trade up before the season when, I've been the commissioner of my league. I know you're the commissioner of a few of your leagues. When I ask people, hey, when is everyone available to draft? Do you want to do it at the same time as last year? I always get a thumbs up. Yep, we're good. But then as soon as a player gets injured, then someone wants to complain about when we drafted. So I'm fed up with these type of people. Just acknowledge that it's unfortunate for you and move on. It happens to everybody.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely because everyone can have it happen. Yeah, it's like if you got to draft early, just suck it up. And if you get unlucky, well, I mean, you get unlucky during the season. I mean, you get injuries during the season. So it's like no matter when you draft, there's going to be injuries and trades and stuff. So yeah, I hate when people do that because it's so silly. I mean, there is no perfect draft day. Just draft when everyone's available, what works best for everyone. Set it and just accept that injuries can happen. I mean, Patrick Mahomes could get hurt tomorrow for all we know. It's just just accept it. It's freaking football. It's a contact sport.
And the best part is when people come at you and they didn't do their research. The person that came at me today, we drafted after the whole initial Jonathan Taylor story, so we knew that if he didn't get traded, he was going to be on the PUP to start. This guy drafted Jonathan Taylor, obviously not knowing that, although the information was out there and available, and then he complains. Like, it's not my fault. You didn't do your research. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, you got to own your mistakes, and yeah, you just can't make excuses like that because I mean, it's a competition. I mean, it's a competition, man. Like, come on. So, but speaking of Patrick Mahomes, got to rant about this because I've been seeing this time and time again now. And I mean, like last night. I mean, last night was just I had to rant about it because freaking first overall, right? Which I was happy. I've got to pick second, so I was able to get Justin Jefferson because first overall, Patrick Mahomes. Come on, guys. Stop drafting Patrick Mahomes in the first round, or in this case, first overall of single quarterback leagues. What are we doing? Yes, he's the GOAT and all that of the current NFL, but stop freaking reaching on him in these leagues. I mean, because with quarterbacks, you've got so many options at the position, and if you take him first, you're just hurting your running backs and receivers at that point. Yeah, he's money in the bank, but so are a lot of other quarterbacks: Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, all guys capable of throwing for 5,000 yards, or well, the rushing guys more so it's their rushing, not really capable of throwing 5,000, more so capable of rushing for 1,000, which is, even if they don't throw as much, they're up there with the pocket passers. But my point is that just you can't draft Mahomes and expect to have a balanced team because those other guys will go a lot later, and then you've got to start at least 2 running backs and 2 receivers. Quarterbacks, you only have to start 1. Super flex, yeah, by all means, Mahomes should be the first overall in every super flex. If you have a super flex league and they don't take Mahomes first, they're idiots. But in single quarterback leagues, well, you're the idiot if you take Mahomes first because it's just as great as he is, he's not enough better than the other elite quarterbacks to justify being taken over the elite running backs like CMC or the elite receivers like Jefferson and Chase.
Completely agree. And, we are advocates here of waiting and taking other quarterbacks. I wouldn't personally draft a quarterback in the first round of any single quarterback league. I just think it's absurd. And as I mentioned earlier, there's too little depth at other positions to be doing that.
Right.
When someone takes Mahomes, as you mentioned, you were able to get Justin Jefferson at not the number 1 pick. If someone is taking a quarterback with the first 10 picks, they're crazy, and they're going to have a team that suffers later on in the season because of it.
Yep, 100%. So All right, y'all. Well, that's going to do it. Unless y'all have any questions for us here. Roster cut down day. I'm going to refresh my feed here, see if we got any new surprise cuts before we go. I know the Saints cutting Bradley Roby was kind of surprising. I know he's a defensive player. And then the kicker news a little surprising. No, it doesn't look like anything new. A chosen Henderson released. I don't think that didn't surprise me.
He's been cut from as many teams in the last 3 seasons as he has name changes.
Yeah.
I will say, Spencer, Jim kind of questioned me when I said this. I think Kayshon Boutte makes the Patriots roster, and I haven't seen any news about him today. So I think he's going to survive the cuts.
Interesting. Yeah, he went DeMario Douglas, or maybe they'll both survive. Because DeMario Douglas was the rookie there that they said had been outproducing Kayshon. And but I got Mahomes. Well, yeah, exactly. It's stupid. Like, why would you want that? You want him to finish near the top. It's just it's like the people that back in the day would take Brady first round. Like, oh, I got Brady. It's like, who cares? You're gonna look like an idiot because your team's gonna suck. But all right, y'all, that's gonna do it. Appreciate y'all. Listener League. One last reminder for those that haven't gotten in on that yet. Make sure to shoot me an email if you want in to get in. It's on ESPN. So a little old school with that. I'd probably be down for Sleeper, but I know some of our returning members like ESPN. So I guess we'll keep it ESPN for now. But if you want in, make sure to let me know. But that's going to do it for this episode. And for Spencer Guru Urquhart and Gabe Henderson, we'll catch y'all next week at 4 o'clock. Getting ready for week 1. It's almost here, y'all. Peace.